What up and welcome to Something by Brian. I'm Brian and it's May, at least for a little while still. And for many of us who likes to draw, that means Mermay, which means mermaids. A lot and a lot of mermaids. Or around 31 at the very least. For the uninitiated, Mermay is a drawing/animations challenge with daily prompts for artists to create festive, fun and creative designs and such. It runs throughout the month of May and it's sponsored by the likes of Wacom and Toon Boom, if you follow the official prompt list of course. So I thought I'd take this time to showcase my designs for the first 2 weeks prompts. Let's get on with it. The first prompt was workers, and my mind went straight to construction workers, and then on to orange overalls. So it was important to really implement the overalls in the design. Also, I've never really seen a mermaid with the fish part continuing over the shoulders, and I thought it was a pretty neat little idea, so I had to run with it. I added the yellow hard hat, and it should have been clearer that it was supposed to be a mussel. So that part definitely should have had more thought and work put into it. I thought the eel-like tail worked well with the pose and the colors chosen, so all in all I ended up quite satisfied with this as the first of these. The prompt for the second day was Siren. Now to my knowledge, sirens is almost always depicted as these too good to be true, beautiful creatures. And it makes sense since their whole gimmick is to entice and seduce sailors and drown them. And even though that's pretty sinister, I wanted something even darker. So my thought process here was essentially the Kraken, but what if it had mermaids for hands? And that's a pretty damn fun and weird idea if I have to say so myself, so I started working on it. And I really enjoyed this one. I thought the pose ended up really well. The creature design with the big vertical mouth where a neck normally should be was super fun, and the rendering of it all is just some of my final work if I am to compliment myself. There's of course always something that could be better, but overall the composition, pose and creature design of this was just wonderful to come up with and draw. I hope you like it too. For the 3rd of May the prompt was Glossy, and immediately I thought of jellyfish. And I'm actually not sure that you'd categorize jellyfish as particularly glossy, but it's just where my mind went, so I went with it. And luckily, when you're the one drawing, you get to decide how glossy things will appear. I absolutely love the pose I created for this one, and I know that a jellyfish mermaid has been done before, but I still think the idea is pretty atypical and it just invited to have some fun. I always try to use these types of monthly challenges to learn something and challenge myself a bit, so here I went lineless, which isn't a style I'm totally comfortable in. And there's definitely room for improvement, but I'm really proud of how this ended up. It's super bright and fun, and I think it ended up fitting the prompt Glossy pretty well. For May the 4th, the prompt was of course Star Wars Day. And I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so that should be a walk in the park, right? I totally blanked on it for a while. First I thought I'd turn Jar Jar or Jabba into a mermaid, but I just couldn't get the sketch right. I struggled so much that I ended up tracing a mermaid pose to get the creative fluids flowing. That helped a bit, and the idea of a giant Twi'lek swimming around in outer space emerged, and then the idea that she should be some sort of deity creating the universe whilst gliding through it just came to me. Whereas before I went lineless, here I tried to challenge myself to be bold with blacking things out. I maybe ended up being too bold since the background is so dark too, but I still think the overall piece is legible. Oh, and then I chose to slice her up a bit because that felt Star Warsy to me. The prompt for the 5th was symbiotic, and the ocean is full of symbiotic relationships, but after scrapping an idea featuring a whale, I remembered what Nemo taught us about his home, the sea, and So to stay with the sort of deity theme I just stumbled into in the last drawing, I chose to create some sort of clownfish god, or guardian at the very least, protecting the tiny fish and granting them safe passage as they search for their new home. I absolutely love every decision I made with this drawing. I love the body shape of this mermaid. I adore the vacant dumb face I did, and the rendering of the piece is just chef's kiss. This is also done in a style I'm way more comfortable in, so that might be why I'm feeling this way. For the 6th the prompt was doodle, so I chose the easy way out and simply made a somewhat rendered sketch. I do hope I find time to return to this drawing though, because I kinda really ended up digging the pose and design. It reminds me a bit of that weird alien mentor in the Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds, voiced by Jeffrey Rush. So it would be fun to complete this and render him like a cosmic superhero. The 7th prompt was ghostly, and a ghost mermaid is such a cool concept, so a haunted sunken ship was the setting, and then the pose and composition just sort of revealed itself to me. I had a bit of trouble with designing the head, but the angular shape features I ended up with I really like. However, I wish the transparency of her ghostly body was rendered a bit better, So that's definitely something I know I have to work on moving forward. And isn't that the purpose of these type of things? To finding out your shortcomings and where to improve. But yeah, the idea of this one is better than the execution, but I still kinda like it. Okay, this one got very creepy real fast. The prompt was mother, and when I think of the sea and of mothers, I can just see those fish with a mouthful of their young ones for my inner eye. So of course that could be how a mermaid would transport its youngs, right? So that was the thought process behind the monstrosity taking shape before you. Real talk though, I really like this one. I think the idea is twisted in the right way, and the rendering of the design emphasizes the unnerving nature of this piece. This is definitely an idea I'd like to come back to and workshop, but as a proof of concept kind of thing, I love it. The prompt for the 9th of May was sea life, and I couldn't really get an idea. This prompt really just stumped me. So I do what I somewhat often do when blacking out on these sort of challenges and took the prompt at face value. Sea life. Sea life. A living sea. So that's what I did. An enormous wave in a silent ocean. I don't know about this one. It is one of the weaker designs. Also because it doesn't even necessarily come off as a mermaid. I mean, it doesn't even include the fish part. But on a positive note, I really like the simple painterly background I created, and the facial expression is really nice too. For the 10th of May, it was time to try out some lineless art again. The prompt was vibe, and to me that just means relaxed poses and vibrant colors, so that's exactly what I tried to incorporate. As mentioned earlier, lineless art is harder for me to do, but I actually ended up quite satisfied with the end result. There's definitely something up with the back fin, and maybe her arms are a bit short, but hey, arm length varies from person to person. Anatomy is a guide, not fixed rules, right? But yeah, her arms should probably have been a bit longer. The 11th prompt was Superstar, and therefore I of course just started drawing stars. When I finally done enough of those to have gotten an actual idea, I finally started drawing a mermaid. And this might be the first stereotypical mermaid I've done throughout these first 2 weeks. Her pose and expression is really endearing to me, and I enjoy the confusing nature of the fish part. Is it also clothing? Is that a fin or a collar around her neck? The answer will forever elude us, but she's definitely a star. This prompt confused me for a while. The prompt was mermaids, which apparently is some sort of Bratz-like Barbie doll thing, but mermaid. And they're a sponsor of this whole thing, so of course they get a self-promoted prompt. So I drew a weird green mermaid doll thing pulled apart. I'm noticing a lot of my mermaids have green skin. What's up with that? Anyways, I like the rendering on this one, but the drawing and design is pretty bland. But with a prompt that's blatantly just an ad, it was difficult to come up with something innovative. The 13th prompt was cyberpunk, a style I've crossed paths with on multiple occasions throughout pen and paper scenarios and wonderful movies like the Blade Runner films, but it's not a style I've drawn a lot in. So it was definitely a challenge to merge a style I like, but is foreign to me, with mermaids, a typically very nature-themed creature. With that being said though, this ended up my favorite of the bunch. The pose is fun and the silhouette is legible and clear. The design itself is a, if I'm to say so myself, very good way to merge a mermaid with the cyberpunk theme as a Mad Max sorta gal searching for signs of her ancestors' underwater civilizations whilst traversing the vast, scorched surface world. The rendering on this one is the best I've done in a while. The shading is layered and colorful, and the lighting details from the goggles and vials is part of the little touches and details that just makes this drawing and design pop. The last of the first 14th prompts, Cozy, is a perfect way to end the video, because it's what the challenges should feel like. Cozy little daily drawings, but I somehow always end up falling behind and spending too long on a design. That cyberpunk one, for example. But nevertheless, I always have fun with these sort of things. So for a prompt like Cozy, I wanted to truly try to illustrate the relaxed feeling when a project is done and you can just sit back and unwind. I think I managed that quite well. I had a bit of trouble deciding on the style at first, but when I found it, the piece just found itself. And when in doubt, just add a walrus or two. So there they are, the first fortnight of Mermay 2022. When this video goes live, I'm guessing there might be a couple of hours of May left, and I'll be roughly 14 mermaids behind, but don't fret, I do intend to finish them all, and you can go find them over at Instagram, @somethingbybrian, also linked below. But thanks for watching all of these. This was a bit different from my usual content, so let me know if you want to see more of this sort of thing, or if I should just stay in my lane and draw some movie reviews and such. Your feedback is much appreciated. But yeah, thanks for watching this, and if you liked any of the drawings, consider liking the video, and if you liked the video, consider subscribing. Until next time, take care.